Everyone sees the brand.
but nobody sees the build.
I'm Cindy,
And I'm Justin, and this is The Matrix Method.
your inside look at what it really takes to scale an aesthetic beauty brand
From the names that you know,
to the ones you need to. Let's get into it. All right. Welcome back to the Matrix Method. I am Cindy. Justin is at AAD this weekend, and I've got a very special guest, Zanoli. People call her Z. She is the founder of Founded by Z, which is a sales and education strategic consulting company. I actually met Zanoli many moons ago. When I first started at Zeo Skin Health, she was one of our head of education at the time. She is an esthetician by trade. And so we're going to talk a lot about your journey and how you got here and a little bit about like what you see as the future of aesthetics, what are the missing pieces, all of that good, juicy stuff. So welcome, Zanoli.
Thanks, Cindy. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So give us an overview of your journey to where you are now at Founded by Z.
How much time do we have here? If I start at the very beginning, once upon a time, I'll give away my age, right? No. So I was born in South Africa, right? And in South Africa, it's a little different to America in the sense that each state has its own compliance levels for education and skincare and aesthetics and things like that. In South Africa, way back, it was 3 years full time. And we do similar things to what first-year medical students do. So it's a very different landscape. And I mean, Russia, it's even 5 years. So it's pretty complex. But it's very expensive. It's actually, when I took up my loan, someone told me, Zanoli, this is more expensive than a 5-year electrical engineering degree. I know. So I studied way in the knees. And so to pay it off, I actually became a flight attendant in Bahrain in the Middle East because, again, back then you made a lot of money and I paid off my loan within a year of being a flight attendant and exploring the world. And to me, that not only gave me the travel bug, but it also helped me understand different cultures. And because I just finished my studies, not only do I understand how extremely complex melanin-rich skins are, but now all these other countries that I was going to and the different cultures and what their questions are, which is the same across the world, by the way, that was fun. And then came back, paid off my loan, yay, had my own business in South Africa and also worked in a couple of places for a bit, not just in skin. In South Africa, you do sports massage, you do clinical aromatherapy, you do reflexology, and I can't name them all. Manicures, pedicures, artificial nails.
Wow.
So I did all of that. And back then, there was this new thing that now they call hot stone therapy. And so I went to London in the early 2000s to go and study it and then bring it back to South Africa. Well, that didn't work out because I fell in love with London. And while I was studying all of this, I was also taking part-time classes at the International Dermal Institute. And because I did all their classes, they were like, Zanoli, why don't you just come and work for us? And so I became an educator, right? So this is how life is. It's amazing. So there I was in the UK, working for Dermalogica in the International Dermal Institute. And I'm like, And my next step, what's it going to be? I'm learning so much. It's so fantastic. And friends took me to Orlando to Disney World.
Nice.
And the funny thing is that when I landed in America, it felt like I was coming home. Right? And so I went back and I told my boss at the time, I'm like, I need to get to America. And ironically, in case you weren't aware, Dermalogica is in America. And the founders at the time, because it's been purchased since then, were South African and British.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Yay. To make a really long story short, after a couple of years, they moved me to their corporate headquarters in California. And I was there for quite a while, going through everything, teaching, just experiencing and learning and helping this industry. And
Wow.
then I moved to Zio, which is where I met you. It's funny how life works. And that was just also an amazing experience, completely different, because going from skincare that's all about the treatment room and making your client fall asleep and targeting all these different things to medical was, oh my gosh, amazing and a huge different jump, right? And working with all these dermatologists and that industry was amazing. And then I decided I wanted to move from California to Arizona. I don't know why. I think I'm a little lizard in my past life. The heat, yeah. Just as I landed here, it's funny how life works. Serendipitous, new skincare company was literally starting, and I helped build it from the ground up. And, I did that for 10 years. And through all these experiences, I realized that what I really wanted to do was not just speak about a product company and their product. I wanted to really help the industry in understanding that when you're teaching about a product, it's not its features. It can do this. It's got this ingredient. It's got these 12 clinicals. Those are all great. But when I'm an ST in a room, how do I speak to that? Or when I'm a nurse practitioner, no one cares about how many clinicals you did and the technology that I find fascinating.
Yeah.
I just want to know what it is. How do I use it? What's the order of application?
Yeah.
And so while at Skin Better, not only was I an educator, I decided to do something really stupid. And I tried to follow in your footsteps and become a sales rep as well. Did that, will never touch, would do that again, but it was amazing. It
Yeah.
again gave me another perspective
Mhm.
of this industry. And yeah, here we are. And from all of that, the biggest thing that was happening is people were informing. Here's the information. It's filled my mind. I come up to you and I go, oh my gosh, that was such an amazing class. That was so funny, whatever the case may be. But the numbers weren't going up.
Yeah.
What's the point then?
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that just informing someone with information doesn't truly help them understand the why.
Yeah. And
And that's where I
translation.
am today.
Yeah. Well, you have to show the value, right? In everything that we do, there's a value proposition attached to it. And one thing that I talk about a lot is if people do not know what your offer is easily, then they're not going to spend money with you, right? And so I think that's really where the translation, and I started at L'Oreal in active cosmetics
Yes.
in the drugstore side, right? So it's like dermatological skincare in the drugstore. Then I go into ZO and I'm in corporate. I'm not in the field anymore, but it's the whole medical.
Yeah.
And then I was with another skincare on the spa brand. So it's very interesting to see that it's the common theme of education. And one thing that ZO did very, very well is they focused on education, making sure there is enough trainers per territory, and the content that was developed, spoke not just here's this great product, but also here's how you apply it. And if you're a provider, how do you share this with your client, but not just sharing the product. It's like, this is the result. So you lead by the results. You have hyperpigmentation. You want to clear that. This is what you need to use to get to that point. Right. And I think it is it's underappreciated in this space, right? The education, because I've sat through a lot of, you know, company meetings, and it's like when sales are down, they think that cutting education is the first place to go because they're like, well, we don't know how much value this educator is bringing to the revenue. And I said, yeah, even though they're not placing the order, it is their education and knowledge that is helping your provider sell, which is then contributing to the salesperson getting that sale,
Agreed.
you know?
And I've never understood it. And, the partnership between sales rep and educator is critical. An educator will create the why and the understanding and the how and then the sales rep comes in and goes, okay, with all this information, here's a package deal. Let me
Yes.
help you get it off the shelf. And without that education, it doesn't happen because most estheticians aren't salespeople.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when a patient or a client says no, they take it hugely personally, like it's a rejection.
Yeah.
And so that's where the salesperson can come in and go, actually, don't you worry about that. You just do what you do best and speak to the love and the passion and the understanding.
Yeah.
And that marriage partnership is so unique. And it is sad. And I'm so glad you mentioned it because I was going to, is that education is normally the first thing to go. And I've never understood why.
Yeah. And there's great companies out there that do value that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've had this tremendous career, lots of success, right? What made you decide to walk away and start your own consulting firm?
Yeah, I don't know. Perimenopause? I'm kidding. No, it's a fair question, right? Sorry, had to throw that one in there. We do
Well,
crazy things,
we
right?
do. And we do. Well, I read somewhere and I see it all the time where they said that the average age for an entrepreneur is what, like 45 or 49. And then
Yeah.
the average age for like being a millionaire is like, early 50s. So that's why I think, once you kind of hit your late 40s, early 50s, you have this itch to do your own thing because you've accelerated in your career. You kind of hit this peak and you're really not sure. Like, you're like, well, where else is there to go? I've already kind of hit the peak.
Right. Yeah, and through all these years, you also learn the perspective to be a bit
Yes.
different. And so when you work for a company, it's their perspective and their focus.
Yes.
Whereas now I can bring a completely unique perspective that isn't in competition with
Mm-hmm.
them, but gives a value add to their customers or themselves, the brand, their accounts, consumers that they don't always either think of or have the time to actually speak to because you know how it is with a sales rep and an educator. I've got to get there. There's traffic. I've got to check on them. I've got to check their inventory. I've got to make sure they know what the promotion is. Do they understand all the products? And by then, the hour is gone. And now you've got to move on. And, oh, but wait, I was supposed to share this. Or, oh, but wait, there was still this to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so to your point, I don't want to climb the corporate ladder anymore. But with all my experience, I would like to share that in a way that's advantageous to both the accounts, the brands, to everyone, even just people that are super passionate about this industry and want to be a little more educated on who to go to, what's out there, what type of questions I should ask when I'm going for a treatment, and
Yeah.
just make this industry more elevated.
Yeah. And you do see the difference between providers who are very successful and those who struggle. And it's having a sales technique background is very important. And I think it's overcoming this fear of,
Rejection.
a lot of providers think, I don't want to be salesy, right? Like I just want to provide a treatment. I don't want to be salesy, but I think salesy can be, you're doing a service too, because if they're walking away and they're not walking away with knowledge, They're not walking away with home care. They're not walking away with a plan of when they need to return and come back and do additional treatment for their skin health, doing a disservice
You are.
by not quote unquote selling, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's like there's techniques to it that is very important for them to learn. And so companies need people like you. It's not just education on product, right? Like you can just create a module, send people there to learn it. But how do you take that transition and what are ways that you provide value and can close that sale? I always say that retail back in the days, and I don't know if you ever worked in cosmetics retail, right?
Okay.
Back in the days, everything you learn about sales, you learn in retail, right? It's a, it's all of these little, I don't know, I wouldn't say tactics, but methods of learning about human behavior, asking a lot of questions to get them to say multiple yeses. So by the time you're introducing the product and the final product, they're already in their mind
I
said
have
yes
to do
multiple
this.
times, right? Little things of putting the product in their hand. A lot of times you see people, they finish a treatment, that's great. Like they enjoy their treatment. They come out, they show them everything that they've used on them, but they're not engaging with the customer. They're just putting it on the side, right? And there's a psychological thing that happens when you hold on to something. You don't want to give it up. You're like, I have this in my hand now. I don't want to give it up. I want to walk home with it, right? And so it's like these little things that I think a lot of service providers do need to be taught because they were never taught that in school. School teaches them how to conduct a service. They do not teach them how to close the sale, quote unquote, close
No,
the
yeah,
sale.
yeah, yeah. The thing was always possession is 9/10 of the law. And if
Yeah.
I've given it to you and I have to try and take it back, I want to keep it. Excuse me, it's mine now. And if you've touched it and you've experienced it, you
Yeah.
don't just walk past a cashmere sweater and go, oh, that looks pretty. You touch it and you
Yeah.
get this whole emotional connection with it. You can envision yourself in it. You start to think of the makeup you're going to wear, what pants you're going to wear. And so it's this whole thing, and it's the same with the product. Do I like the smell? Don't
Yes.
worry about that. It's the smell of science. That's fine. Okay, so I can get past that. But how does it feel on the skin? Is it going to start pilling and leave bits behind? What does my makeup look like? How do I know all of that? By touching it, feeling it. And while I'm going through that experience, you're talking to me about how easy it is. If you make it too complicated, a confused mind says no.
Yes.
So keep it simple. And
Yeah.
and that's part of the whole thing. So yeah, while I was studying, actually before I became a skin therapist, I was actually studying back in the day, the .coms and floppy disks, and I was actually in computers. And while studying computers, I was working at my local, almost like a Macy's,
Yeah.
at the Clinique counter with my white
Yeah.
jacket. Yeah,
My first one too.
see,
Everyone starts at Clinique. It's like your very first beauty job.
steps was it? 3
Yes.
steps, which made it easy to understand, to know what my next step is, and to use.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so how do you see the future of aesthetics? It's changed a lot since we started, because I think the word med spa really didn't even exist 15 years ago, and medical dispense skincare
Yes.
was non-existent. Doctors would never think to stock skincare products in their practice. It was a very different time. And then all of a sudden we see in the last, maybe 10, 15 years, this huge surge, right? And there's some great brands that started out with not a lot of competition. So they saturated the market. And then now the market is very, very saturated. And especially with Matrix, I mean, we're working with new companies every single day. We get on calls with a new company that is trying to grow in the US, or they're international and they're trying to come here. So how do you see the future?
Yeah. It's exciting.
It is.
This whole regenerative aesthetics is actually the topic of the year this year. It's more about prevention now than correction.
Yeah.
Because the damage was done. We didn't know to wear a sunscreen, and now we know to wear, well, I hope we know to wear a sunscreen. And so it's not about that anymore. It's this whole regenerative aesthetics, repairing, renewing, keeping the skin young, and gone are the days of beauty is pain. I actually speak about it in a YouTube video coming up because that whole thing is gone. We have numbing creams now. We don't have that much downtime anymore. And with so much AI out there and all this stuff that's being bombarded at us, we want things to happen today. I don't want to wait 10 days. I don't want to have to prep my skin for 3 weeks before the time. I want to go in. And this happened to me the other day. I got 4 different treatments in one day within a space of 4 hours on firming, helping resurface my skin, tightening the skin, helping my pores, helping the pigmentation. I hope I'm starting to look better and not my age, right? And the next day, no one could even tell that I'd had it done. And that's what's so exciting now is the treatments in the treatment room. You can get some really great home care to support what just happened in the treatment room. And it is really not about the pain anymore. It's about calming the skin, helping the barrier.
Yeah.
Because if this that you see on the surface is irritated, flaking, stinging the whole time, reactive, constantly getting those rashes, that's a problem. So it's changed also from a moisturizer that you slather on and cover the skin with to something that actually has an impact on the skin. So where do I see it going? I mean, right now, the big hot topic is exosomes, right? And people are freaking out because we're so used to the natural and the plants and all these things. And don't get me started on natural because poison oak is natural. I don't want that on my skin, right? But you've got to look at what is complementing what skin you already have.
Yes.
And that thing, we've even learned that it's not Propionibacterium anymore, it's Cutibacterium. So we're constantly learning all these things. But the biggest thing is, how does it complement the skin's natural healing process, wound process, hydration process? And if products carry on and if ingredients carry on to understand how the skin naturally used to do that way back when we were 22, I think the future looks really, really bright. And even with AI, there's nothing that takes away human touch, which is the last thing left in the industry where you can get touched and immediately calm down and immediately rack from your stressful, environment. And I think this human aspect with what these ingredients can do makes our industry still so different and unique compared to many others that are changing so much with AI.
Exactly. Well, and there's also the holistic approach now. It's not about vanity. It's not about
No.
just looking, younger, but it's really making sure your body as a whole is healthy and to look the best it can. And then that you feel good too. So it's not just like look good, but then you feel horrible, but you want to feel good as well. And so you see a lot more companies looking at it holistically, not
Yeah.
just on surface, but in additional treatments and different lasers and RFs and microneedling, getting it really in, but also oral
Yeah.
supplements that is
Yes.
helping the skin or helping the body from the inside. I saw somewhere they said that you can tell somebody's and it makes and their health and also their age just by looking at their skin
By the
because
skin.
it's the largest organ.
It is. So they believe that even with pigmentation and uneven skin, you can appear 10 years older than you actually are.
Yeah.
And so, back when I had these couple of treatments done a few weeks ago, we took some photos from a year back. The amount of inflammation that's reduced in my body, the cortisol levels, and just my skin's natural glow is coming back. because what I was doing at home, the treatments I was getting in the treatment room, and what I was able to do naturally from the inside out. Those three things really go hand in hand. And the biggest one in all three is that inflammatory response. If we can reduce inflammation, because that's the root of every problem, from
Yeah.
diseases
Yep.
to hair problems to all these other things. So inflammation, topically, internally, the mind, yeah, there's so many exciting things that we can do as long as we just trigger a little bit of acute inflammation short term for natural repair, but long term we really need to focus. And there's so many different amazing ingredients now, the ashwagandha, the rosemary extracts, all these amazing ingredients to help intrinsically reflect extrinsically on the skin as well.
Yeah, they and finally talking about how important about your microbiome, right? Your
Oh,
gut microbiome, your skin microbiome. It's something that we just never talked about,
yeah,
right? And it's like bacteria. We always, I mean, growing up, you always think bacteria is bad, 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 and antibiotics just kill everything. And then you start seeing that, oh, you need healthy bacteria, that you need all of these. Like there are certain bacterias I read that specifically live in, I think, the lower part of your colon, and you need those to help prevent colon cancer,
yeah,
right? And so there's all of these, and then in your gut, and also your skin. So I took those 23andMe
yes,
things, and it talks about your skin microbiome, and it said that I actually had a gene or something where my on my skin microbiome that was like speeds up healing, right? Which I always thought was really interesting because ever since I was a kid, every time I cut myself, I would heal quickly, right? And I think part of it was maybe just in my blood, right? Like I would scab quickly, but it would heal quickly. And I remember my grandmother was the same way. And I was like, oh, I'm just like her. And so the more that I started looking at all of these things, it's like, oh, it could be genetic as well because your microbiome is sometimes inherited. Yeah.
yeah. It is so important to make sure that we're not stripping that microbiome and we're working with that microbiome both topically and orally. And I actually learned the other day that I found so fascinating is just in 10 days, your whole gut microbiome can repair itself if you drink green tea every day. It
Wow.
brings back its own natural flora, and genetically, it can reverse the damage to
Yeah.
help heal you pretty properly. And I think, again, it used to just be a pretty product that you put on the skin to make you, it feels luxurious, it smells amazing, to now it targets specific things. But with that, you also need the internal, because no matter what you apply topically, if there's a problem inside you,
Yeah.
it's not going to do, it's like a band-aid effect. And so, to your point, all these things, when I studied, they weren't there.
Yeah. Well, your doctors, I mean, back then, your doctors didn't talk about your microbiome. They didn't talk about gut health.
No.
And there's so much of that. I mean, your physical health, your mental health, like your mental health with stress and the impact it has on cortisol and how that just starts, it's a trigger to everything else that is being inflamed in your body, right? And yeah, I think
Including wound healing. If your
yes.
everything isn't working, your healing process is going to, cortisol is pretty dangerous, and so, yeah. It's this industry is just so amazing. And so here we have been educating each other. You learn more, but you understand more. And that makes us more excited to share that information with others.
Well, and it's also you're learning from people like you who have been in this industry. You're getting information outside of your traditional medical market because sometimes, it's great. Now there's a lot of functional doctors who are
Yes.
looking at people holistically. But for a long time, I mean, you have a 5-minute consult with your doctor. They're like, they don't really talk about
No.
anything
Yeah.
like that. And I started working with a naturopath maybe about 5 years ago. And my first appointment with her was 3 hours long. And
Oh,
she looks at my eyes. She looks at, I mean, she looks at my, like just everything and asks you everything. Like, I mean, little TMI, but just like going to the bathroom, like,
yes.
what is that like? And I was like, wow, my doctor has never asked any of these questions. And this naturopath is asking everything and to your emotional state too. Like, what are you going through in your life? How's your stress and all of that? Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day, studying, everyone used to think that a consultation was just, hey, are you on new medication? But it's also to do with your stress levels
Yeah.
because stress can increase sensitivity, reactions in the skin, healing in the skin, can trigger the pigmentation. And so these functional doctors that are trying to find the cause instead of when you only have 5 minutes with someone, you're only treating those symptoms.
Yeah.
When you treat that cause, you need to understand not only that, but also, and again, TMI, but even for a skin treatment, I should know when last you had your period. Why?
Yes.
Because again, that could be the cause of your pigmentation, your breakouts, the sensitivity in your skin,
Yes.
and when I ask you what medication on you on, that should include what you're taking orally, how many tablets are you taking, how good are you, and then coming back to, how often you go to the bathroom, there's a tiny little test you can do. You eat corn and you see how long, time it to the minute, how long it takes because going every
Mm.
day doesn't mean your gut is healthy.
Yes.
It's how quickly it goes through. And if it goes through too quickly, that's also a problem because you're not getting the absorption
Yeah.
of all the good nutrients. So you might laugh at my little corn analogy
Yes.
because you know where it's going. But just those types of things, because it used to just be that the eyes were the window to the soul, but is your skin dull? How much is your hair falling out? How
Yeah.
dull is your hair? How dry is your skin? How dry is your hair?
Yeah, I almost think like your gut is just such a big indicator of
Every,
every
yeah.
single problem, but it also shows how healthy you are too. Because I know when I eat too much sugar, I blow up, and I look at pictures, and I have a wider, rounder face, so it's very obvious when it's gotten a little bit puffy. And I thought, my gosh, did I just gain that much weight? And once I cut down on the sugar and everything starts to go down, I was like, okay, now I'm back to normal. And there's been times where I've been healthy and everyone around me is sick. And I've been around them and I've been fine because instead of taking other immunity, I just stocked up on stuff for my gut. Because once you improve your gut, your whole immune system will get
Exactly.
strengthened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting how different the industry is now. Going back to when I was studying, and this is in the 90s, I don't want to say that too loud, but we had nutritionists come and speak to us. And, it just showed that it was this holistic
Mhm.
approach. We even had to measure your fat percentage with the little caliper, not the one that you hold on the
Yeah.
handles now and it just measures everything. But to your point, that inflammation now, I'm not giving up sugar, but I totally get where you're coming from. Skittles and I are BFFs, right? So I have to stock up on so many other things to
To
counteract. And
counteract it.
people laugh at me
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, it's sugar. The most dangerous ingredient you could take.
Yes, it triggers and it's because it's a type of sugar.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
because of your typical white sugar is so refined, whereas your raw honeys, your sugar
Yes.
canes, things that just came from nature, your body knows what to do with it. It's the
They do.
sugar that's been refined multiple times, and it's basically a chemical, a sweet chemical, and your body doesn't know what to do with it.
And it's been made beautiful and purple, and I stuffed 5 handfuls of it, like, yay. But to your point, growing up, I was still a sugar addict. But growing up in South Africa, we lived on farms, and
Yeah.
I would steal the sugarcane and eat that, right?
Yeah.
And now I jokingly say all the time that having a healthy lifestyle is like a second job. How much
Yes.
protein am I supposed to get in today? And it's over 100. And how many am I getting per meal? Then it's, oh, wait, you're over 40. So you need some fiber. Gosh, I have to get that on board. And then if you take eggs, because it's a really nutritious thing, if you want to absorb it, you've got to add the avocado. But you also need X amount of fruits and veggies every day. And by now I'm like, I'm 6 hours into my day. I haven't even started my job yet. But in the end, all joking aside, these are the types of things that we weren't aware of we were doing right growing up.
Yeah.
And the only bad thing, and don't get me wrong, it was bad, but the only bad thing was sun. Because the
Mhm.
first sunscreen came out in the late 70s, and what was it, an SPF 5?
Yeah.
And so, our lifestyles are so different now. And yeah, we should be making sure that even though I might not be a nutritionist, when I'm treating your skin or when I am speaking about products you should be taking and using, I'm going to ask you what your stress level's like, what's your medication like, what vitamins are you on? In America,
The
vitamins,
vitamins.
That's and tell you, I might not prescribe them, but I'm definitely going to say your stress levels are high. You've just mentioned that your wound healing isn't so great. You're an addict of sugar. I really would like to encourage you, and it would be in my best interest as the provider to find a local functional medicine doctor or some others that I can recommend that they go to. And ironically, when I was a sales rep in Vegas, I was opening a lot of functional medicine doctors that were using skincare so that they're treating both externally and internally. And I really thought that that was an interesting concept.
Yeah, it is all related. I saw a study recently where they had mice and they gave them UV exposure. One, they exposed them to seed oils, the
Ugh.
other without seed oils. And it was the ones with seed oils and the sun together. It was almost like every single time they would get skin cancer. So when you think it's like, even if you're just putting your sunscreen on the surface and you think it's enough, but if what you're taking internally is not good, that is, I mean, a disaster.
Making you more vulnerable. Yeah.
Exactly. And there is also on the other side too, like, what you use on the surface, which some people think it's not enough to make a difference, or like, oh, it's topical, it's not going to do much. But we know, like, even in this industry, and we see it with plastic surgeons, when they prep the skin and they get them on a really great regimen that is building their skin barrier, building the strength of the skin, when they do the actual surgeries, they do the facelift, it's better. The result, the ability to lift the skin is easier because the skin is stronger now. And so that's why I think medical dispense skincare has grown, because not only do you have dermatologists who see the value in not only oral medication or prescription, but also the topical together. And then you see the plastic surgeons seeing that work together to help their treatments, have better results in healing.
Exactly. And there's all these biohackers and people that are starting to speak about how we can slow down the aging process by what we're taking in intrinsically, as well. And it's the largest organ, so it is exposed to the environment. And so having that healthy will prevent the exhaust fumes and the pollution getting into the skin too far. So don't think that not applying it is not going to do anything. It's a catch-22. You've got to rely on topicals, but you've also got to rely on internal, and one doesn't work truly effectively without the other. Growing up, my grandma would use Pond's cold cream, right? But her lifestyle was super healthy.
Yeah.
So it helped a little bit. And again, I say we didn't have the great sunscreens back then like we do now, but it was also a different life back then. There wasn't as much pollution.
Yeah.
Sure as goodness wasn't as much stress. And
Yes.
all these other things, there weren't microwaves and TVs. And you and I were speaking about it the other day. The TV stopped at 10 o'clock at
Yeah.
night when we were growing up. So, yes, their life was different. But those old wives' tales, there's still a lot of truth to those, and we should always go back to those grassroots. And so this whole combination is amazing, and they're calling it nutraceuticals now. The nutrition from internal is like a pharmaceutical grade, and even though the FDA doesn't approve of the word itself, you and I know that that means it's a little different to a mass market random thing. And they actually tested quite a few nutritional supplements on the market a couple of years ago, and 80% of them didn't even have in them what the marketing claimed.
Yeah.
So always go for those that have clinical studies and backing and information and education behind them, and
Yeah.
don't just take the cheapest one off the shelf. And that's the other thing I wanted to bring up is do your research on it and find out if they're making a claim, where's their proof?
Yeah. Getting it from professionals. I
Uh,
think that's very important. And that's the same with medical skincare as
yeah,
well. You can go on to eBay, you can go on Amazon, but you do not know whether
what's
or not
inside the
it's the
bottle?
real product. It could be counterfeit, and there's so many on the market, and you just don't know. And you don't know what the claims are. I think Amazon is great. I
I
love
love it.
Amazon. I depend on Amazon, but it does open up a whole
The skincare.
gateway of products from supplements to skincare. You don't know where it came from, and you don't know because it's not FDA regulated. You don't know what's in there. And so, I mean, for me, I don't buy any supplements from the store. I get everything through my naturopath and whatever company that she's worked with, because she's working with the company, they have the clinicals. They have the reps who are giving them the education. So it's the same thing with medical skincare, right? You can go on a website and you can find whatever product, but you want to talk to somebody in, your provider for your specific
Yes,
situation. You can get on a phone and do a virtual health with somebody, but the provider
not
that
the
is
same.
looking at your skin,
Touch on it.
talking to you about your lifestyle, everything, they're going to be able to provide the recommendation that's going to be perfect for you. It's that,
Agreed.
going online somewhere is not going to provide.
Self-prescription. Oh, I see I have a little bit of pigmentation, unevenness, sunspots, liver spots, whatever you want to call them. So I go and doom scroll, right? I'm going to see something and I'm going to buy it. What if I break out? Now I think I'm allergic to it.
Yes.
Well, you broke out because of certain things. If me as the provider asked you the right questions, I understand I might have two of the exact same product. I'll know which one is the best for you. So I've been educated. I'm educating you. This self prescription kind of isn't always going to be, the best route to go.
Yeah. And experience.
Yeah.
I think it's so crucial is
Yeah.
somebody who's seen a lot, right? I remember my OB, he was like this old guy. He was like head of the OB guy, and he's just like older guy. And I loved it because whenever you talk to him, he's just so comfortable and confident with whatever it is. And you don't fear. You don't have that fear factor. And so when you go to a provider, skincare specialist, you want somebody who sees a lot of people who've been in the industry for a long time, and they've seen a lot. So that way, when you're asking them questions, it's almost like second nature to them, and it feels very comforting when you talk to professionals, and that's why it's important to go to people who've gone through the education, who've committed to that education, who's committed to the craft of skincare and skin health. That's where you're going to get the best
Yeah.
support. Yeah.
Exactly. And so if you're new in the industry, for goodness sake, go and get the classes
Yes.
and learn. Find yourself a mentor, follow them around, ask them questions, because their perspective and their experience, you can't learn. You can
Yes.
hear about it and you can study it under them or hear it from them, but the best way is, unfortunately, through experience. But you don't want to learn from your mistakes, so that's why you ask the questions, go and get the classes, understand, and try and, practice as much as you can, and just don't think that whatever a product company is telling you is the only right thing. They're going to do it from their perspective, and I'm not saying that they're not doing a great job. They are. But then another company is going to tell you their perspective. So also find someone that is neutral, that can help you understand the skin from a different perspective. Go and call a functional medicine doctor and understand how your gut microbiome has an impact extrinsically. When you speak to your hairdresser, find out from them about your scalp health and what you should be doing that way as well, because that scalp is also skin,
Yes.
and there's amazing supplements on the market nowadays for scalp health as well. Now my list of medications has just grown exponentially, but in the end, it's this understanding and this experience and this learning and this education that makes you one of the best out there to be able to give your clients, your patients, yourself, your friends, the right information and recommendations.
Yeah. Going back to the old wives' tales.
Yes.
I'm Chinese, and so there's a whole bunch of old wives' tales in the
Yes.
Chinese culture, and one of them was about going to bed with your going to bed with your hair wet, right? And there was this whole thing: you don't want to go out, you don't want to go to sleep, and I never thought I couldn't understand why. And then as you grew up, now I'm in this industry, I'm starting to realize when your hair is wet, like it increases your chances of fungus, which is what causes dandruff, right? And so I never understood why I would get dandruff. And I didn't realize that it was because I was going to sleep with my hair wet. It could be, and then too much sugar that causes growth over, yeast overgrowth, right, in your body, and it shows itself in lots of different ways: itchy skin, like dandruff, all of that. And so now, as you get older, you start seeing how everything is all connected. And
Again.
yeah, there's quite a bit of truth to all that old wives' tales.
Agreed. Studying, we did a lot of Chinese medicine and acupressure points and acupuncture points, but also truly understanding this whole background of holistic. And it is, and even when, we learned the specific technique of reading the face, and if you were puffy here, and it was because you ate too much cheese and the congestion, and your cheeks are your lungs, and, and if you think about the liver, and you get breakouts down in the corners of your mouth, and it can go down to which side you're ovulating, you'll get a breakout on that side.
Yeah.
So all these old wives' tales and things, there's so much truth to it. And it's all about going back to those grassroots, really.
Yeah. It's funny because I would go to my acupuncturist, and all he does is check my pulse, right? And he can tell, he goes, "You've been eating too much sugar." I was like, "Yeah, I was traveling, and so we had dessert." He goes, "Don't eat so much sugar." And I was like, okay, in like 30 seconds of just sitting in front of me, he knew what I was doing and like what stage my body was.
Yeah.
That's
That's why before I
crazy.
used to go, I would, for the week before, eat as healthy as humanly possible. It always reminds me of, when you have someone coming to clean your house, you do a pre-clean before the cleaners come. And so I would try and quickly get healthy before going, even when you're having your blood drawn. And,
Yes.
you've got to do it early in the morning. My gosh, the 3 days before, I'm drinking a lot of water because as it is, my veins are terrible. That helps blood flow, but then my health is better. Is it going to help my cortisol? Is it going to help my cholesterol? I mean, for goodness sake, a couple of days isn't going to do it. But it just shows you, actually sometimes what to do, and we should listen more to our bodies. But yeah, it's
Well,
really all
I
interconnected.
know. The only person we are fooling is ourselves at the end of the day, right? And, it's funny you mentioned the house cleaning because I would tell my kids, I'm like, clean up your room. The cleaning lady's coming tomorrow. And like, to them, I don't get it. I said, well, she's coming to clean my house, not to clean up your mess. So put your stuff away so that she can clean my house.
Right? Yeah. And so we'd pre-clean. Well, I used to try and pre-clean my body before
Yes.
going.
And I don't know. It's like, but that just shows we know what we
Yeah.
need to do.
Yeah.
We know what is bad
Yeah.
for us, and yet somehow
We
we're not
brush it off.
consistent. Yeah.
The headaches, the
Yes.
tiredness. Oh, it's just stress. Well, but where is that stress coming from? And it could be good stress, true. Your body doesn't know the difference between good stress, quote unquote, and bad stress, right?
Yes.
It's stress. So that's cortisol. So,
Yeah.
the journaling, the mindfulness, the meditation, the deep breathing. My mom used to tell me, going back to Old Wives' Tales, is don't keep your windows open in the late hours of the night because that's when the pollution is settling. You open it in the morning and you go out in the morning when the world has had time to clean itself and you do your deep breathing and things early in the morning, fresh start to the day, fresh circulation, and I never understood why you're not supposed to breathe
I
in the
love
night air.
that.
Well, because it was all that pollution that the earth hasn't had time to heal and get rid of yet.
That is so interesting because there's like a crispness in the night air that I found whenever I try to jog at night, I would start kind of coughing and I always thought I was like the crispness of the air was actually good, but it would make me cough.
Maybe. Huh?
Yeah, that
The
is
pollution is
interesting.
settling at night, and that's why here in Arizona we have the most beautiful sunsets. It's because of the high pollution rates.
All the pollution's coming down.
It's settling, isn't that terrible? But in that terribleness, there's beauty as well. But yeah, so, I mean, all old wives' tales, some may be good, some might not be. But if you truly understand why they're there, it gives you a chance to make better decisions
Yeah.
for yourself and do better. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and our world is so much different because we didn't have Wi-Fi. I think that was the biggest thing. Like Wi-Fi did not exist. So now we can't even get away from it. So it's like, yes, you could turn off your blue light or wear blue light glasses. You could put sunscreen, you could all that. But as soon as you go anywhere in a building, even outside, there are Wi-Fi towers everywhere. So
yeah,
it's like we're constantly, so it's not like, oh, I'm, the 80-20 rule, right? Like you could be healthy 80% of the time and then you could splurge 20. It's almost like our bodies are in a constant state of attack, like 70% of the time,
yeah.
right? And we're only good 30%. So those 30% of our time, like we better make sure we are doing good to the body. Yeah.
30% of the time. That means I can have my sugar
You
30% of the
can,
time, and 30% of my diet can be Skittles. I'm a happy camper. Thank you for that, Cindy.
well, Dr. Cindy here, right?
Thank you. Just justifying my reason for my candy addiction.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even on my desk, I have many Starbursts.
My gosh.
I know, don't look. Sorry. We've all got to have a vice minus sugar.
Yes, I like the sugary drinks, which is so bad. But
I
I
know.
figure if I can at least replace it with honey,
Green tea.
right? Yeah. Honey or something, it's a little bit better than regular sugar. Okay, so I think there's another thing I wanted to talk about, which is important for women, we say our age, midlife women, right? Which has been great because I've been told a lot that I do not look my age. You know,
You don't?
so something that most midlife women deal with, perimenopause,
Yeah.
menopause.
Yes.
I actually just hit my menopause 1 year mark officially last September, which has been great.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Never having a period again.
It's the best thing, right? Yeah.
And I'm lucky that I haven't had any bad symptoms. And I think it's because I've been working with a naturopath. I've been doing everything holistically and I haven't had any negative effects from it. But one of the things that is really popular right now is peptides.
Yes.
And a lot of women our age are realizing that that is something that is not just your glow stack, right, for your skin, but there's so many other parts of it that helps our metabolism, help our, building our muscles. Because now it's like, yeah, I mean, before in our 20s or even 30s, you can splurge and gain a few pounds here and there, and you can kind of like for a week or 3 to 5 days eat good. You're like back to normal. Now, I mean, I could eat nothing, just drink water, and I will gain weight.
It's
So,
shocking. And something
yeah.
I learned the other day is protein doesn't need a lot of water, whereas
Mm,
carbohydrates do. Whether those carbs are good for you or not is not even the point. Carbs need water. And so that's why if you've had carbs, good or bad, the next day you're actually 2 pounds heavier. It's because of the absorption of water that you're going to be, kind of getting rid of a little later on. But yes,
wow.
peptides. So, obviously as we age, everything slows down. Like it almost comes to a standstill. And so proteins are extremely important for wound healing, for hair growth, for skin, for gut microbiome, for absolutely everything. And because your hormones are miscommunicating with the brain and the pituitary gland is having its own issues at this point, and the circulatory system is also going haywire, right? And the hot flashes, and I, keep getting those and things. Having the right proteins is critical. And they've even said creatine is now one of the most critical for brain function and brain health. And that's an amino acid that's part of the protein building blocks and things. And, people used to say red meat was bad for you. And, I beg to differ just a little bit. It has your iron in it and it has
Yeah.
the right types of proteins and B vitamins and all these different things. Yeah, protein is critical topically and intrinsically for health.
Yeah. Well, especially as we age, our
Yeah.
skin naturally gets thinner, our collagen, all of that support breaks. And so when we're spending all of our time on skin treatments, whether it's through non-invasive devices or exosomes or skincare, there's still that internal
That you need.
nutrition that you need to make sure everything is functioning very well and works together. And that's
Yeah.
something we often overlook.
One thing people don't realize is skincare is important. Please let me just emphasize that. But topical skincare is important because it's the last organ to get blood. And
Mm,
that means nutrition. So the only way it can get its protection and its moisture and its hydration is from the outside, because your dermis is where the papillary dermis in particular is where those blood vessels stop, right?
yeah.
And so that's where the nutrition stops. And then through osmosis and diffusion, you get your nutrients. But so we're relying on the little bit. If there's anything left, your heart gets first nutrition, then the lungs and the kidneys and the liver. And if you're not eating properly, there's not going to be anything left for the poor little skin. So we do need to take in more nutrition so that there is a tiny little
Yeah.
bit left in that little bloodstream to get to the poor largest organ, but the poor little skin that's the most neglected intrinsically. Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes so much sense because you can look at people, and I don't know if it's because I've been in this industry for so long that I know what healthy skin looks like. So when I see people and it's like dull and there's dark circles and it's ashy, you know that there's poor nutrition, there's poor sleep
Poor
habits,
sleep.
right? because everything shows on your skin, no matter what you do to
Yeah.
the skin.
Yeah. It's like a canvas. If the canvas doesn't look flawless, you're going to see every mark you make when you try and paint it, and covering
Yes.
it up isn't, going to do the trick. So yeah, you and I both. I shouldn't say this on here, but if anyone ever sees me in person, of course I'm judging your skin and going, she needs this, and what else can I help her with? Not in a bad way, but
No.
just me. I'm sure hairdressers look at my
Yeah.
skin and go, firstly, she's a psycho because she's got color in her hair. I read the other day on a meme that people with colors in their hair are a hot mess, and I am proud to be a hot mess, right? But they looking at my hair and I'm looking at people's skin, and it is to do with the health of the skin. And when I'm at Pilates, and oh gosh, please, no one at Pilates, I love you all. But when I see some of them with acne or scars, I know I can help just by giving the right education, right? Because
Yes.
we judge each other by the way we look. We do.
Yes.
Before someone's opened their mouth, we'll already either trust them or don't trust them by what we feel energetically and
Yeah.
by what I see from you. And I'm like, I don't like the look of you. And so I shut down. And
Yeah.
part of it is because of the health of the skin. How am I supposed to go to someone when their skin looks dull? And it's probably because they're just as tired, and no amount of me exfoliating and doing all these peels is going to fully help if I'm not looking after the internal as well. And now, if you didn't know, you know why having that nutrition internally is really going to help the skin, because it doesn't get a whole lot of absorption going.
Yeah, everything shows on the outside. And as much as we don't want to be judgmental, I think we
Yeah.
naturally are, right? I would see, you can tell somebody who has poor habits and either doesn't exercise, doesn't, I mean, because my son plays video games, and I think so I will see some guys, and they have this kind of like hunched over, their neck is forward, and you can tell. And I tell my son, I said, look at that guy. That guy, you can tell, spends an entire day in front of the, computer playing video games because his neck is forward and it's ashy. It's like everything shows. So no matter what you do, your lifestyle, everything shows on your body.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, unfortunately. Sensitivity, how much you drink, you get a red nose, the rosacea, the oiliness, the dryness, the texture, the pigmentation, all of it is more often than not because of something going on internally. When I
Yeah.
have to record, I try and get as much sleep as possible because, oh my gosh, do not need to look like death warmed over. And here I am educating you on how to be healthy and get healthy skin. And
Yeah.
I'm a mess.
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up a really good point. So, like, if you are in this industry, if you're an injector, you're an esthetician, even if you're a doctor, like, you do need to take care of yourself first. You got to look the part, because if you have bad skin, why would I take advice from you? And you may have great advice, but if you don't look like what I want to
Healthy.
become and you're not healthy, I would not take your advice.
I know. And it's challenging because then there's the other flip of the coin. What if I genetically get acne?
Yeah.
I unfortunately have to go on Accutane. But, I had a friend and his biggest dream in life was to become a pilot. Well, if you go on Accutane, you get night blindness because that's a side effect.
Wow.
So do I get rid of this acne that's causing, me to want to go and hide in my room? Or do I get the night blindness and never achieve the one dream I want, which is to become a pilot? So, but even with acne, I can see you're taking care of it, if you know what I mean. Your
Yes.
skin looks healthy. It's not dull and, thick with you've done your exfoliation, you're wearing your sunscreens, you're trying to do your part, there is a difference. I just want to make
Yeah.
that distinction as well. It's normally the ones with the bags under the eyes and they're bragging to you, oh, I didn't get to sleep last night. And to your point, we might have done that when we were 16 years old, but now if I don't get
We can't.
sleep, it looks like I went partying like it's 1999, you know?
Yeah.
But coming back to it, if you're going to recommend a healthy lifestyle and, be an instructor, when you do the yoga move and demonstrate it to me, my gosh, you'd better be able to do the yoga and demonstrate that move to me, because
Exactly.
you can't be telling me what to do and standing there teaching it
Yeah.
without being able to do it yourself. I need you to come and demonstrate that right now, type,
Exactly.
But yeah, coming back to perimenopause, and I'm so glad you said it, right? Because everyone mixes up perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah.
Menopause, you will only know 1 year after you stopped having your period for an entire year. And people say, I'm going through menopause. You can't be going through it. You're going
You're
through
done.
perimenopause. And I follow these people on Instagram, and it's like, what fresh hell am I getting into today? Is it itchy underarms? Is it the brain fog? Is it all of a sudden anxiety from driving?
Yeah.
And all of that also impacts the way my skin is
Yes.
every day now as well. And I wished we could truly understand, but there's not enough studies on perimenopause and all these different things
Yeah.
for us to make better decisions on skincare for these people.
Yeah. Well, because it's and it happens a lot sooner than people think, right? Because it's
Mhm.
like first, it's, maybe your period's a little off. Like maybe it's like all of a sudden really heavy, right? And then it's light. And then it's like you skip a couple months. And so you think it's only the period, but it's everything else. Like you said, like, I mean, the brain fog. I mean,
Migraines.
gosh, yes, the headaches and I mean, I would get these and I would constantly go to my acupuncturist. I'm like, I don't know what's going on right here. And I would go like every week because of it. And I would mix up my kids' names, my dog's name. I mean, I turned into my grandma, right? I remember my grandma could not never the first time would get any of our names right the first time. And I started yelling at the dog and calling my son's name.
Your
And
son is like, what's going
I
on,
know.
mommy? Are you getting Alzheimer's? Yeah.
I know. And and it's funny because in my household, I was going through my perimenopause. My daughter, she's already gone through puberty. My son was just starting puberty. So in a family of four, my husband said, he's like, I am the only one who was not going through some kind of hormonal thing in this family.
You'd be surprised because they do believe that there's some kind of a menopause for guys too.
I would think so. Well, I mean, if you think about it, don't they have their testosterone drops?
Reduction in testosterone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why they got to go and get some of that done. You can't fight it. Like the body's just naturally going to change.
And when it sees fit, from itchy ears to it's, we joke about it, but it's debilitating some days, and we should be kinder to ourselves in that sense. And, we were speaking about food and we've got to be on track with that. And then it's exercise and we've got to be track on that. And when you're younger and you want to climb the career ladder, and now you and I, we've both started our own business, and that's a whole different kind of stress. That all shows up on the skin, and
Yeah.
we really need to be a little kinder to ourselves. And that's why, our little founder circle texts and chats are important, and we should just check in with each other every now and again. If I haven't heard from you
Yeah.
in a while, it's like, hey, sunshine, are you okay? Are you
Yeah.
alive? Normally it's in the form of a meme from me with cats hiding under the door going, checking in, or the Cookie Monster or something. But being kind to yourself and having the deep breathing and the few minutes to yourself every day, or having the few Skittles that you can, the healthy, happy pleasures in life are just as important as the goals we need to achieve and
Uh-huh.
all these other things we need to hit. And I mean, for goodness sake, if you can just put on your pajamas for the day and you actually got out of bed, that in and
That's
of
a
itself
win.
should be a celebration as well, in my personal
Yeah.
opinion.
And we need that community,
Yeah, we do.
especially I think what I love about the founder circle is we are all going through the same things and we have days where we're super motivated and we're pumped and we're like, we're going to do all this great stuff. And then there's some days where you're just like, I don't know, like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I don't know what's going on. And so you have all these ups and downs and it's great to have that community because one thing that leaving the corporate life is you lose that community. You lose that immediate group, right? Of
Yes.
people that you talk to every day, that you see
Yes.
every day, and you don't have that anymore. And it's great to have a team, a group of ladies where we do celebrate and we are supportive. And I was telling Elizabeth because she had some really great news and I'll let her share it. But I said, you got to tell everyone in that group
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that inspires
The
everyone,
rest of us.
right? Like when you're walking on the same path, we're not competing with each other, but when like you have a win,
Celebrate.
that inspires me. That keeps me going, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And at least, in some cases, I have two dogs. There's some days that the only voice I hear is my own speaking to the two dogs, right? At least if you're, speaking to your husband or your kids, there's a voice talking back to you and just these little check-ins and coming to that as well, no one should be in competition with anyone else,
No,
especially women. We
yeah,
should be celebrating and praising each other and supporting each other because when you win, I win. The
yeah,
industry wins. We all win. So uplifting each other and making sure that we're there for each other regardless. Because yeah, some days you're crying your eyes out. And so when Elizabeth shares, I'm going to be like, score. Or when you share, I'm going to be like, yes, that's motivation enough for me to keep going. And I might slow down on my little skittles and feed off of these types of happy newses instead, and again, that also brings your glow back. When you're happy
hmm
and people look at you and they go, what did you do? You're glowing today. I got
yeah,
my hair done, or I got more sleep, or I
yeah,
didn't have as many Skittles today, right? And those uplifting moments also reflect on your skin and make you look better and feel better, and your body can function better. And when you're not doing great, that's when you get
yeah.
sick.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes this was hard for me transitioning out of corporate and because you're used to that support system
Yeah,
and the perception that there's all of these people who are supportive and they've got your back and this and that. And then you leave that environment and it's all of a sudden silence from them. There's not and then it's like the people that you would be so surprised have become your biggest supporters. And the ones you thought would be your biggest supporters are just silence. And I think that's also another thing that women who are leaving the corporate world, going on their own, it is something that is going to happen. And it's something that is partly heartbreaking when you're going through that because you think you have these strong relationships, but then maybe for whatever reason, those relationships are only there for a
for a
different
little
reason
while.
than you thought,
Yeah,
right? And then, you have this I mean, we haven't seen each other for gosh, I would like 8 years,
at
right? And
least.
then we only got connected because of mutual contact that was like, you should talk to Zanoli. She's doing, I was like, I know Zanoli. I said, I knew her from early on. And for us to now be connected and, also with Elizabeth, like we worked together for so many
Yeah,
years, but she's in the field, I'm in corporate. And it wasn't until the last 6 months or actually last year where our friendship started to develop. So yeah, it's surprising and it's a natural progression of this journey. Yeah.
different seasons need different reasons, need, different friends. And yeah, and it's exciting in this new journey of our lives. Yeah, I'm excited for the industry, for you and I, for women in general.
Yep.
Um Yeah, I
That's
think it's great.
great. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Zanoli, for coming on today. I love this conversation. I mean, I think we probably could have kept talking.
Forever. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, can you two stop? And we're like forgetting
I know.
that there's others listening in.
Yeah. Well, there's so many fun topics, and I think
Yeah,
it just really shows the diversity of people and our experiences in life and how, when you are in the corporate world, you're so defined by your title. And that is
exactly.
the side of you that people see, and they don't know that there's all of these different dimensions of who you are. And when you really get to know people, you realize, like what you said earlier, we don't have to compete with each other because no two of us are exactly the same. And so when you support each other, you win together because all women need that.
We do,
Industry,
especially
it's
in this industry.
still lopsided in terms of majority of our customers are women, majority of providers are women, majority of reps are women, and yet sometimes in the management side, it's not the proportion of women up there, and the rest of the company is a little off. So we shouldn't be fighting with each other. The more women we can uplift and get to higher levels of corporate, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, and support each other. And I think, one thing that people don't realize is when we're doing things like a podcast and we're doing social media and when you're doing your classes on YouTube, support us. Please, like,
Yeah,
give us
yeah,
a rating, like, give us a comment, give us a like, share, because that is not, it's not like we're just trying to self promote, but we're just really trying to build a women-owned businesses. We're trying to inspire, give hope to other people to want to do something, whether it's to become CEO of the next big skincare brand. Like, we want to support that woman who wants that, but we also want to also support the woman who wants to be the entrepreneur and become run her own business.
absolutely. Whatever you want to do, we should be there to support each other and not judge each other and project our insecurities onto someone else and put them in a bad light. It doesn't look good to anyone, and it doesn't help anyone.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm all for let's support each other and let's, make this world a better place.
exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Sonoli.
you. You take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. This is the Matrix Method. Join us every Monday for a new episode.